welcome to the Council of Moms. I'm Lisa Valentine Clark. I'm happy to be here. The Council of Moms is a place where we come together for real talk about real things that really matter. The Council of Moms, it only takes one mom to change a light bulb, but really? Do I have to do everything? Change the light bulb too? Cool. The Council of Moms, just because your kids roll their eyes doesn't mean you're not funny. We get it. Yeah, we get it. And as always, the Council of Moms, made with real moms. Today we have the realest of moms. Again, I'm Lisa Valentine Clark, mother of 5 very individual kids who have left me wondering, will I ever figure it out? Can't stop, won't stop. They're all different, and it's really the best. That's kind of the stage of life that I'm in, that I realize they're all different. Okay, who else do we have here on the Council of Moms? I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Julie Taylor. I have 5 kids from toddler to tween to teen. So I'm just kind of in this middle space of glory days, learning and growing and learning and growing.
I love it.
And it never stops. I'm Emilie Campbell. I have 3 kids. I had a baby in my 20s, a baby in my 30s, and a baby in my 40s. So I, too, am all over the place. I have an adult child that's 22, a 9-year-old, and then one in between, my special guy, who I always talk about, severely disabled. He's like a 18-year-old baby. And, he's probably taught me the most about motherhood than anybody else. So yay for that.
And I'm Sunny Mahe, and I have 10 kids from 25 down to 2. And so I'm in pretty much every stage of parenting and not necessarily killing it at any of those stages.
Oh, stop. We're so glad that you guys are here, though, to really talk about the things that, maybe we talk about, but also the stuff that we don't talk about as much as I think we should. That would be helpful. And this question that we have for today falls into that category. And we got it from a listener who's been part of the Council of Moms. And I am so excited to see what you guys are going to say about this question. And I'll dive into it. Dear Council of Moms, I'm reading parenting books. I'm listening to podcasts. I've been creating my own Council of Moms to have more of a community. And it seems like all the latest parenting advice boils down to one thing: let it go. I'm kind of getting sick of that, though, because people act like you can just apply this to everything. And I know that if I really was just let everything go, my whole house would fall apart. But I do want to raise happy kids without being stressed all the time. So, what exactly am I supposed to let go of? What can I let go of as a parent? What a great question, I thought. This is a great question. So when you hear that, because don't you guys hear that a lot? Just let it go. Just let it go. Like, don't worry about it. Let it go. What do you let go of? What does that mean?
Well, I don't think that means that anything goes, right? Like, I don't think that means, oh, we don't have rules here or we don't have consequences. Do you guys think that's what that means?
No, I don't think that's a good idea.
Okay.
I think you have to have some rules.
I will tell you what my own just interpretation of that is. And, like in our house, we still have rules. And the letting it go part, I think, for me, applies to like my child's reaction to either consequence or enforcing the rules. Yeah, for like an example, if somebody breaks the rules, I'm not letting the rule go. I'm going to say this is, we don't do this in our house or in our family, and that's non-negotiable. But if there's a consequence and they, lose their minds about it or they hate me or whatever, I just have to let that go. Right? Like I can't talk them back into being cool about it or even seeing it my way. I just have to say, okay, you're going to be mad. Or I realized when my daughter was a young teenager, there were a few things I did have to let go. Like if she was really mad at me and she would like slam her door or stomp her foot or something, that I can let go, right? Okay. There doesn't have to be a punishment or a consequence to every little thing. But that doesn't mean that I'm like dropping all the rules, Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Okay. That's kind of how I don't know. That's what, when I say like, I hear that advice, you just have to let stuff go. I think that's true too. Oh,
Yeah.
again, when my daughter was a younger teenager and I didn't love her clothing choices, there were some things I had to let go. Right? Like it was acceptable and it was okay, but it wasn't what I necessarily would choose or my preference, but those are things you just have to let go.
I think that it's a combination of things because it's easy to say let it go. And I feel like I hang out with a lot of people that are older than me who are more advanced in their motherhood than me. And they give me this advice a lot. Like when I'll bring a problem to them, they'll say, like, oh, it's not that big a deal or let it go. And sometimes that perspective is really helpful because it helps you see what actually doesn't matter. And I can hear
Agreed.
myself giving that same advice to my toddler mom friends and understanding why that's frustrating because it's easy for me to say, just let them throw the tantrum, it's fine. But that's there 24/7 right now, and that's a really
Mhm.
hard reality to be in. And so I'm not in that stage, so it's easy for me to be like, it actually doesn't matter and it's fine. But that's kind of dismissing the stress of their reality. And so I think there's this balance of getting really clear about your values and what matters to you and what doesn't. And I have different expectations for different children, and maybe that seems unfair, but they're capable of different things. And so we're very clear on our values, but how those play out for each child varies. And it varies in season and stage and individually. But when you're really clear about what your values are, I think a lot of my friends don't parent the way that I want to parent. And they might think I'm uptight about something. And I might think that they're like, we don't always agree on
Yeah.
everything, but I'm clear on my values for my children. And I try to let that be the guiding light and chill out when I can, take perspective when I can, but there are some things that I care about that I'm not going to let go of, and maybe that causes more suffering for me, and I'm sure in 10 years from now, I'll be like, "Man, I should have chilled out," but I'm doing the best I can.
Not today.
Not today. Today, I'm
Today's
holding
not
on.
that day. Maybe tomorrow.
That's right though.
We'll pencil it in for Friday. Yeah.
That's what you're saying is like that, there are certain things that like you're not going to budge about and you're not going to let them go. But which also helps you realize what are the littler things that I can let go. And those things for sure, like, man, I was in a phase for a long time where I felt like every um like negative reaction from my child needed like a consequence. No. You got to let some of that stuff go or you're fighting all the time. And that's clear, of course, the wrong way.
Yeah, it's a pick your battles thing for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and as I was thinking about, like, letting it go, I feel like you can't let it all go all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, even if you're gonna let it go, the kids made a mess in the kitchen, that usually means my bedroom is probably pretty clean. Or,
Yeah.
if my
Yeah.
bedroom is clean, well, there might be dishes stacked in the sink. Like, you do kind of have to pick and choose because you kind of can do it all, just not all at the same time. And I think that's kind of true across your life that you can do all the things that you want to do, but you're not gonna be able to do it all at once.
Yeah, that's very wise. It's funny when I hear that phrase, let it go, it's like my mind goes back to like what I've had to let go with my specific children in my specific situation. I don't think that I think it's really tricky to say across the board, okay, moms, let go of everyone should let go of this. I mean, I think there are a couple of things that you could say across the board, but I think for most of the examples are going to be personal to like what your kids and you need to let go personally. Some of the things that I think, like across the board, we could all let go to are like comparing ourselves, our mothering to other people, because we're different people. Our kids are different people. Like, let's all let that go. Trying to keep up some unrealistic standard. Let's all of us agree to let that go. Let's all of us agree to let go of like unrealistic perfectionist tendencies about what motherhood means. How it of looking the same or looking magazine ready, how it appears and not like what it really is. Like I'm all for letting that go. But I think for personally, it like I could say for some kids in some phases of life, letting their grades go is something or worrying about that would be appropriate. I would have never said that 20 years ago. You would have never heard me say that 20 years ago. But today you'll hear me say it. Like because I've had different experiences where that was something for a lot of legitimate reasons that it was appropriate to let go of. Or, you know what I mean? But
Yep.
not for each of my kids and not for every stage of life. And it's the same thing of like their room, how their room looks Um, I could probably still let that go a little bit. I don't want to, but I probably should. And so I think that there's like varying levels of, of letting go that are specific.
Well, that's why I find myself feeling defensive for this woman. Like, no, you can hold on. You don't have to let go. Hold on
Yeah.
tight. Don't let
Don't
them
let
tell
anybody
you
tell
how to
you
let
what
go.
to do. Yeah. It's so
Like, why am I
true.
feeling defensive? Like, no, keep holding on. Because I feel
Yeah.
like I get that advice too. And it can be, we like control. It feels good to feel like we have control, and there's no control really in parenting, especially as your kids get
It's the
older.
illusion of control, but it's soothing.
It's comforting. And
It
so I
is.
love what Sunny said of like, you don't have to let it all go at once. Like, find your little
Yeah.
comfort things of like, this is a thing that I'm still gonna really anyway, I think I feel defensive because I do think culturally we're kind of
Yeah.
overcorrecting to let it go, everything's fine, nothing matters. And I
Uh-huh.
love to say that nothing matters, but I do actually think in parenting things matter. And I think
Yeah.
expectations matter and love matters. And these things, I don't think it's correct to let everything go. So I think
Yeah.
that's where my defensiveness of this woman, like, no, you hold on tight.
She's
You,
like, everybody's telling me to let it go. Like, what are you what's everyone
Yeah.
talking about?
you
It's
yeah.
so different too for each kid, like you said, Lisa. Letting grades go or even room for one kid does not work for another. I'm seeing we are on two extreme ends of the spectrum at our house where like pushing grades and choosing not to let that go would have like crushed and destroyed mentally our daughter, whereas our younger kid, school is a piece of cake, and that is not going to be something that I'm going to have to let go. I am going to be able to say, oh, you're doing all the homework and you're doing the extra credit and you're going to take harder classes and you're going to start thinking about college. That will work fine for him. Didn't And it would not have worked for my other child, which I know because I tried to do that and then I had to let it go and things got, markedly better. So I think that's huge, is to, know what you can let go with each kid. It's not the same. You can't let everything go for all the kids. And you shouldn't, like Julie said, that's chaos. Like we can't do that,
And don't you think too that it depends on like your family values? Because I used to think that you could just choose all the things. Like, yeah, let's choose all the things that we care
Yeah.
about. We care about, grades and religion and organized sports and hobbies and the arts and reading and personal
Community
development
service,
and
volunteering,
community
like
service and a beautiful yard and time spent in nature and family time and strong friendships. I mean, I could keep going forever. Like these are all really great things that I'm like, yeah, we're going to do all of them. But in practice, even, and I'm not even talking about like things just to let go that are like bugging and annoying, but like even like good things that
Yeah.
you really want to do too. I didn't realize that sometimes you have to give up good things too because it's just impossible to do all the things. And that kind of like prioritizing in an intentional way based on like what you really, really care about at your core is more helpful and useful, and then you let go of all the other things. But I do want to acknowledge that sometimes that feels like a loss because it's not just all bad things. Like it's not just all us giving up like good things we just want for ourselves or egotistical things. It's also like good things that we want for our kids that you just know it's just not possible. It's hard. It's hard. Easier said than done.
Well, and I think it's kind of overwhelming and feels stressful to me to talk about it at a macro level. Like
Yeah.
we're letting go of things when it really can be very micro. Like today, this morning is a good example. My teen is supposed to do something before they leave the house or they lose a privilege. And it did not happen this morning, but I could tell they were not themselves. They were really tired this morning. And instead of enforcing it, j- they weren't feeling good. It wasn't a good morning. And
Extenuating
just
circumstances.
let it go for the day. That doesn't mean that we're letting go of the whole macro value of you doing what you're supposed to do. But
Right.
there's flexibility on each day that on a micro level, you can let little things go without sacrificing the whole of the value.
As you're talking, I think that something that might be helpful for people is to realize that when you are letting go of one thing, it's because you're choosing something else. Like you were
Yeah.
choosing a good relationship. You could have enforced that. Like it probably would have been pretty easy to just enforce a punishment. But because you're choosing a good relationship and you're choosing, to
Yeah.
make things better rather than make things harder. Like, that's a lot of the time it does come down to that choice of, how much do I want control versus how much do I just want to have good relationships with the people in my home. And so when it kind of boils down to that, you'll naturally see which things you can kind of let go of and which things you should hold on to a little bit tighter.
Oh, yeah. I
That's
love that.
Love that.
that's been like my guide to the things that I've had to let go is I've always said preserve the relationship. Like there are so
Mhm.
many things that I know I could get real hung up on and not let go, and it's going to be at the sacrifice of my relationship with my child, and preserve the relationship above all else. But back to what Lisa was saying, sometimes that means you're letting go of really good things. Like I think back to the
Yeah.
original question from
Yeah.
audience member, that all these, this parenting advice of just let things go. Yeah, sometimes we're letting go of some really good things, like my child isn't going to have the same faith as me, or that my child's not going to go to college, or my child isn't going to, you know, do the things that I do in
And
life,
doesn't
or
want
have.
these things or some,
Yeah, and
like
their
not
life
that
isn't good. Yeah, like their life might not look like mine. And letting that go doesn't, I don't feel like that means we're giving up or surrendering, or we kind of are surrendering, but we're not giving up. It's just we can't control who they're going to become. And that's such a hard lesson to learn, man. Oh, as teenagers, that was a really hard learned lesson for me, is that I cannot control who my children are going to become. They are their own people, and all I can do is like have some rules, have some values, try to uphold all of those things. And then the rest of the stuff, man, you just gotta, they have to figure it out, and you gotta preserve the relationship above all else, I think.
Along with that, I think that, you know, a lot of it tends to boil down to, our own values and whatever it is that you believe. Who is it and what is it that you are accountable for?
Ooh,
Because if
yeah.
you are accountable only for teaching, then you only have to do the teaching part, and then you are no longer accountable for the decisions that get made on the other end. And so I think some people get hung up on the outcomes rather than the
Yeah.
process.
Oh, that's really important. I wonder like what that process has been like for you, Sunny.
Oh, I have some kids that they just come down and they just want to do exactly what we want them to do, and you can take a lot of credit for that, but it's not really you that did anything. It's because they came down that way. And then I have some that are just determined to rough up any path that we smooth. And so if I'm going to
Well
take
said.
credit for the one that does everything right, then I have to kind of take accountability for the one that does everything wrong. And so I think that's kind of helped me to find a
So
pretty
hard.
good balance, because
Yeah.
I can't take too much credit and I don't take too much of the blame for when they make stupid choices.
Yeah.
That's
You can
so
let go on
hard.
both sides too, which I think
Yeah.
is super fascinating. That's a really like letting go of that, ego and parenting of for taking credit or taking blame. It's
Yeah.
like that's something. That's something. Wow. I wonder if this discussion and conversation changes as you think about like we always think about parenting in relationship to our kids. Of course we do. But also just like in our own like identity and how we feel about being a mom, on the council of moms and when it's like in the question when it says I know that if I just really like let everything go, everything falls apart. Like I wonder what that means to us about our identity as a mom. How does that perspective change how you would answer that question of what to let go?
I think maybe this isn't an answer to the question, but you made me think of, I think that we all have insecurities in motherhood specifically and just as our own people, and we're constantly looking for evidence to prove those correct. And so
Yeah.
we'll make things mean things that they don't. And so if I have an insecurity that I'm disorganized or whatever, then my bin of unmatched socks, I'm going to immediately interpret as, and I'm a bad mom and nobody can find socks. And that I make it mean so much more than a bin of socks. And
Yeah.
so I fixate on the sock problem, and so we'll kind
Yeah.
of, we look for this evidence of whatever we're insecure about. We gather the evidence to say, see, I told you I am this. And so then our identity actually becomes all of these things that don't matter because we're making them mean other things. And so when we can kind of see that for what it is, I think we can get clear on what matters, who we are, our identity outside of these things, and get really clear on what we can let go and what we actually want to put our capacity, our limited capacity toward.
Yeah, I think that's a great way of saying that. Having had a child that passed, I have a 3-year-old daughter that died from an accident at home. And I think that, when your worst fear comes true, you imagine and you kind of write narratives that other people are thinking that they're probably not. But one of the battles that I may have to battle for the rest of my life is feeling like, everybody will say kind of flippantly. I remember saying it myself, like when they ask, well, how's your day going? Oh, I'm just trying to keep the kids alive today. And I can never say that again, to where it feels like having failed the worst, like the lowest standard of motherhood. And, I could let that tear me apart and make me crumble and not feel like I can mother any of my other kids or do anything right. Or I can keep going and realize that this life isn't perfect. And so I can't expect to be perfect. I'm never going to be perfect. And I've already kind of proven that. And so now that gives me a little bit of freedom to where it's like, well, I just got to do the best that I can. And that's really all that I can do. And if that's not good enough, then kind of too bad for whoever it's not good enough for, because
Yeah.
there's nothing else that can be done.
Oh, I appreciate you sharing that. I know that's kind of a hard thing to vocalize, right? But it's like so generous of you to bring that up because I mean, I think when I hear that from you, from me personally, there's this element of faith and like my belief in God that like comes into like my brain immediately like connects to that in that this sort of illusion of control that I have felt like like with my kids and with my own family situation. And when things seem out of control and out of your control, like definitely nothing that you would choose, then that is something that you let go, that you think, how do I let go of that? Like when you said, this is something that I'll probably have to battle with the rest of my life. Like there was just something that I was like, oh, I connect with that in a way that there's those things that you need to let go of that are hard too. And I appreciate you bringing up this idea that I think we all struggle with, which is you have these narratives of what you think other people are saying or feeling, and acknowledging that may or may not be true. And it's probably not true, but it's still in your head. And that's a big part of how we mother. Like it is.
I think what you just shared, Sunny, all of us here on this council have gone through like some really big losses and some huge grief. And I think that has helped me let go of some small stuff, because like if my kids break rules or they're talking back or do get bad grades or whatever, in my mind I'm like, there are worse things. And I've already lived through those worst things.
I was going to say we've
And
all faced those worst case
yes.
scenarios.
Yes, and some moms who maybe don't like that advice to just let stuff go, maybe they haven't been through something such a hard loss, or maybe they have, I don't know, but sometimes I'm sure it's true they haven't, and so they think, no, I don't want to let these things go. But when I don't know, I feel like when worst case scenario has happened to you, which it's happened to all of us, you're much more able to say, I'm going to let that go because there's worse things, and it's not the end of the world if my child talks back to me or whatever it is.
Yeah, I do think that one of the gifts of grief, if I want to graciously call it that, the hellscape of grief, but it showed me in the last 18 months, I have seen what I value and don't want to let go of, and I've seen what I can let go of, because when I am at that barely functioning capacity and you just see so clearly, like, your child is gone, only certain things matter at that point, and that showed me clearer than any other point in my life, okay, these are the things that matter.
Do you
And
mind sharing some of those things that do matter? Because I think that that's really encouraging.
for me, in my stage of life right now and having lost a child, it is the physical caretaking of my family is really fulfilling to me, and it matters a lot to me. I really like making them food. I like braiding my girl's hair. I like doing that physical caretaking that I can't do for my child who's gone. And before I lost him, those tasks were full of resentment for me and annoyance, and they felt mundane and trivial and annoying. And now when I'm brushing my girl's hair, when I'm making food, to get to care for them physically right now is something that I really, really cherish. And mattered more to me than I realized. And so I don't let those things go as much.
Oh, wow.
I think for me, the biggest thing that it has done is giving me the capacity for grace for other people, that all of us are doing the best that we can. And so the best that you can do on this day might not look the same as the best that you can do on another day, and that's okay. And, you know, maybe your children's decisions are not a reflection of you as a person or even you as a mother. That I feel like it's given me that ability to see that in other people because of the fear that I have of people judging me. And I think all mothers at some level worry about what other people are thinking or what other people are doing, and they're better than me at this. And the less we can get hung up on that, the more we can just connect and support each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My favorite question to ask myself, I started doing it when I was in public I had 3 kids under 5, and there was a lot of drama in public that came with that.
Yeah.
And when they'd be freaking out or something, I would ask myself, do I care about this, or does someone else care about this? Am I actually upset that they're behaving this way in Costco and touching that toy, or is it that
Right.
other mom looking at me that's making me care? And I still do it, even with my teen, of like, is this a problem for me?
Yeah.
Do I care about this, or does everyone around me care about it? And so I'm wanting to overcompensate to protect my image. And it's a good
Mhm.
clarifier.
Yeah.
Having a kid with a disability whips that out of you really fast. Where
Yeah.
you're like, I don't care what anyone thinks, like this is who we are, and we have to be in the community and in the world and taking up space, and you just have to like let it go, right? Like that's all I can do.
Let it go. It's
That's all
true.
I can do.
And giving ourselves grace to let it go too. I think that we can have our ideals, like I said earlier, about like this is what our family believes in, or we'll let everything go, but not these things. And having the flexibility to change your mind too is really hard for me, but has been a great part of that idea of what to let go of. To say it's okay to change and to acknowledge that your family has changed, and that's okay. And that's okay.
I went a year thinking that no one could eat seed oils, and now we go to Chick-fil-A every day. Like, they're just, you gotta adapt. This was a
Life
year
is
of my life,
beautiful.
like, making everything from scratch, and now I'm like, well, let's take it on the route. You gotta stay flexible.
And you still care and value your family's health, and that needs to be acknowledged too.
Absolutely.
Yes, all those things. So many things to let go and to stay. This has been such a like an enlightening conversation. I'd love to continue that, like in the comments here, where you're listening to the Council of Moms. We're over on YouTube. I would love to know, for people listening and to join in, what have you learned? It's not going to be the same for each one of us, but I think that like sharing gives us permission to show up in our lives a little bit better, and especially for the people around us that are closely related to us. And I think it's really helpful. This discussion has been really helpful for me as I'm considering what things that maybe I should be letting go of right now that I haven't considered. So thank you for this. I love it. Julie, Emilie, Sunny, thank you for being on the Council of Moms. Remember, listen wherever you get your podcasts. We're over on YouTube if you want to see what we look like and all the faces that we're pulling. And also, if this was helpful to you, please share it with a friend. send this episode of the Council of Moms to one of your friends. We would love to share the love and expand our council. The Council of Moms is a production of BYU Radio. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.